6 weeks ago, the second stop of the Full Send Sims Esports iRacing Spec Miata Tour was at Homestead-Miami Speedway on the road course B layout. Utilizing the serpentine west infield and the flat-out long drafting run through oval turns 3 and 4, it was a serious compromise. Tonight, though, while we return to Homestead, we'll be on road course A, a layout that puts far more of a premium on drivers being able to find pace in tighter, lower speed corners. Their best tool might just be the Miata itself, one of the best balanced sports cars, well, ever. But to win, a driver still has to be able to find the limit and stay there through the entire sinuous maze of the infield. And just to add to the challenge, we come from the largest and most open and flowing of tracks last week at Road America to the tightest and most technical of the season. Hi all, I'm Greg Kramer along with Kyle Heyer, and welcome to round 8 of 10 for 2024's Season 1. And Kyle, I think every driver would tell you this is a true driver's track.
Well, that was true before, and it's truer now, I think, because of the different configuration that we're running. That final chicane, that final complex through what is NASCAR Oval 3 and 4, that area is really high speed, but it requires so much precision, especially going in there 2 and 3 wide. So if you want to get up on the wheel and get aggressive, the driver can make a difference this week. The driver can find time. Last week at Road America, Greg, there was lots of pushing, drafting, that sort of thing. You'll see that here tonight as well, too, but I think you can pull away, especially if you're out front and you've got pace. You can outrun the draft here at this track.
Well, and the thing is, with these slower corners, when you make a mistake, it gets magnified, doesn't it? And as a result, then, you lose a little bit more time. And there are corners here. You don't want to run what would be a normal racing line because it's too slow and it's just too long a distance to traverse, most notably through turns 3, 4, and getting ready for 5. You just want to drive the shortest route. But Kyle, one of the things to me that sets this layout off in a very unique way is that 2 of the corners, turn 6 and turn 8, not only are they 2 of the most important corners to get a good exit out of because they lead into a long, quick run into a really good overtaking area, but that's the other side of it. They are great overtaking areas, so it's so easy to overcharge either of those corners, and then you're just a sitting duck all the way down to the next braking zone. So that's part of the technical nature of this track. It's also brutal on tires, and you've got to, at this track, Kyle, and you can attest to that, I'm sure, you have got to exercise patience here. There's lots of late apex, and there's lots of give the exit up a little bit to set up that next corner to get the really good run through that far more important corner that is inevitably facing you. It's a tricky, tricky place.
It really is, and it's going to be trickier, especially with the track temperature over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty hot here. Maybe not as hot as it could be down in Homestead-Miami, Florida, but it's certainly going to provide a challenge here this evening because of all the sliding you're going to be doing, especially in that final sector that we pointed out, turns 11 through 12 and into this final chicane. You're leaning on so much of the tread of the tire here, slinging this car through here, and you better watch out for those little tire bundles at the apex there of the final turn because, Greg, you hit those, it's not a little jaunt right over the top. That is an impact when you hit those things, and that will put you in a big hole if you get damage to your suspension from that.
Yeah, and it's so easy to do that, especially if you're charging in there, and you're thinking this is a good spot for a pass, which it is not, I might add, because you're going to be really slow. But that's one of those examples when you come through that turn 12 and then into 13, you want to give up the exit at 13. You want to late apex it so that you can really swing through 14. That little bump kind of is turn 15, and that's just the transition back up onto the banking. That one's a lot more violent because it's a lot more abrupt than the one is coming out of turn 8. But if you're really on the hammer, look at that compression and bounce. And if you get it wrong, you're not quite prepared for it. It can unload the car, can give you a little bit of compression steer, and sometimes can get you right up into the wall. Right now, that guy, number 40, sporting a new livery on the car, Morgan Burkhardt, our 3-time champion last year, he's quickest in this session. And Kyle, we were talking about it while we were watching the cars during practice. The front end of that car, a little bit new look to it. He's got a little bit of that Victor Gonzalez race team, the team he's racing with in real world Pro Racing in the Michelin Pilot Sports Series. He's helping them out as well on his sim car.
Yeah, and it's another different color to have in the rear view, but it won't be there for very long. I'm not sure that'll make a huge difference to the competitors around him, other than maybe taking note that it's not the same color as it was last week. The same color as last week, though, for Olivier Piatek, up in 4th in the number 62. Had kind of a rough mid-season, but his pace is always there. The Nicholas Rice-Puto, his aggression, Greg, has gotten him into trouble at some points, but this is a racetrack I think it's going to suit him well. We've got a good balance of drafting and a good balance of corners that you can charge, and I think maybe he'll lose some time on exit, but he'll gain a lot on entry. Keep an eye on the 03 car tonight. He's currently qualified in 5th with 8.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, he's a really decisive overtaker, and I mean, that's on a track like this. That's what you need. You know, the minute you get a little indecisive and should I and everything, you're either slow in or you're going to miss your braking point and overshoot. We take a look here at Deacon Greenfield. Once again, he's taken the VR goggles to a whole new level with the full face helmet. And you know what? That just might make it feel a little bit more realistic to him to have that hat on along with those goggles and just sort of give him that feel.
Yeah, I've done this before. It gets really hot after a couple of minutes, and you know, even though you might get hot in a real race car, it's just something different about not having any airflow past you or anything. He's going to be tired of this by the end of the night, but it certainly does look cool with that helmet that he's got on board and the VR goggles. That's a testament to how efficient those VR goggles have gotten, that you can get a helmet on with them on. That would not have been possible a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's very impressive. You're right. Yeah, it does have sort of a Luke kind of a vibe to it, doesn't it, here? We should probably just talk points real quick coming in. Coming into our the most recent round of Road America, Nicholas Rice-Puto had a 7-point lead over Jordan Rick-Zagrini, but he had a little bit better weekend at Road America than Jordan did. That margin is now up to 13. Camden Hibbett is the next guy in the points, and right now he has done a great job. He went from 22 points behind Rick-Zagrini to only 17, and he's about the same behind Rice-Puto in the lead. Morgan Burkhardt, who after missing the first 2 rounds in essence had no points in either of them due to his commitments elsewhere, has mounted a big charge, but it actually got stymied a little bit and he lost a few points. He still sits 4th, and with Beans Forrester not running last weekend as he was out of town on business, he actually moved up into 3rd, but he lost a little bit of ground. So it's really going to be interesting to see how this all plays out in these final 3 rounds. And boy, I'll tell you, that's a new look for Jordan, too.
Yeah, I think this, if I recall correctly, this is the livery or an approximation of what he had run in the Toyota GR Cup Series last season. So Morgan Burkhardt jumping on that bandwagon, so will Jordan Rick-Zagrini, as they works together with Nicholas Rice-Puto to get a qualifying lap. And remember that you can't bump draft in qualifying. That 0x from the contact will invalidate your lap. Hasn't slowed Morgan Burkhardt down. Josh Soto's running 2nd. Camden Hibbett in 3rd. Hibbett still got the old white and blue PRG scheme. Then Olivier Piatek, Rowan Gill in the 174 is back with us here this week. We should probably keep our eye on him as well.
Yeah,
not in the points.
Absolutely.
He could absolutely stink things up at the front.
Yeah, he's shown great pace, and Cliff Eben as well, who's had a really good run already this year at what would be his home track, I think, at Road America last weekend. He struggled a little bit here, but we'll see what he's going to be able to put together. And Nathan Nicholson, he's the guy, you know, you take a look at average start, average finish, and there's a tale to be told here as well, Kyle. His average start is 4.75. His average finish is 3. That's well clear in terms of a finish of everybody else. And everything that I'm looking at here, if you're outside of the top 8 in average start, which means you're frequently starting in the midst of the pack where things can happen, everybody who's outside of the top 8 in that average start, they're outside of the top 10 in average finish. That really explains a lot. That's why qualifying is so critical to get up near the front. And Nathan Nicholson, he hasn't run a lot of races with us, but those he's done, he has executed that to near perfection.
Yeah, that's why it's interesting to see him only 10th quick in qualifying, and even Cam Eben only down in 15th. And
yeah,
you know, you look back to that Watkins Glen race, Greg, he was right up at the front, constantly attacking for the lead. Not really a factor at all at Road America, and qualifying seems to suggest more of the same here this week. Goes to show you, A, how impressive the field is here, and B, how important qualifying can be I guess we'll see if Cam can outdo his qualifying effort. But again, this is more about single car pace. It's about racecraft once that green flag drops, and those are often two extremely different things.
Absolutely, and I think you're right. This track, the drafting with this layout, it's there, but it's relatively minimal. And sometimes by the time you really get the toe, you're at the next corner and you got to give it up anyway. So here, if you've got really good pace by yourself, that can really bode well, because you're just going to gain a little pace then if you get a little toe. But if you're fast on your own and you can get out and put a lap in qualifying without help, that really can tell the tale when it comes to what you're going to look like in the race itself.
Jordan Ricciagrini does not yet have a lap time on the board, and that is concerning only because I think he's still on a warm-up lap, and he's only going to get, I think, one more attempt at this, Greg, and he doesn't have any drafting help with him either, so this could put him in a pretty deep hole to start the night. If he can't get a lap or does get one but it's slow, this is going to be, I think, his only shot at about 1 minute and 42 seconds a lap, and you're not going to get the bleed over time between sessions. This is a big deal for Jordan Ricciagrini to get a clean lap in.
Yeah, it sure is, and I wonder if he was out there, before trying to help Burkhardt, and was hoping he might get a little help from Burkhardt, and he has kind of lost touch with him right now. But this will be really intriguing to see what he can do now by himself. Here's that turn where you just want to turn in early and just drive the shortest line. Beautiful exit there. If you're more than mid-track coming out of turn 3, you're going to be really struggling to get the car rotated through 4 and get on the hammer coming through for that little flick into 5 and be fast here into this great overtaking zone into turn 6. And that was about as good as it gets.
Yeah, this is a nice clean lap so far, but one big slip, and this could be his qualifying effort over with just over 2 minutes left on the clock and 3/4 of a lap left to go. Just over 30 cars tonight, so the car count down slightly from its max where we saw a couple of weeks ago. We were packing fields in. I think we had about 55 at Watkins Glen, which,
yeah.
That was just an unbelievable race. But it did come with its dramas at the start, and so has this track. That first and second corner have been a big trouble spot on race starts, so maybe a slightly smaller field could mean greener pastures for those in the mid-pack and beyond.
Well, pastures being the key word going off the track
yes.
out there. But yeah, that was absolutely running through my mind. That might not be the worst thing in the world here. And we'll see now just what Jordan is going to be able to do as he is starting to set up here to complete this lap and give us that final lap. He's going to get one more. Oh, that was close. And that had to hurt what he did on that lap. He had to give it up a little bit to get through there. That's going to be frustrating, to be sure. 7th.
Yeah, not bad.
Not bad with a big lift.
Yeah, so that'll put him down in row 4 for the start of this race, right alongside, for now, Skip Rock Jr. in the number 32, Jorge Ortiz and Ethan Lamp. I don't believe we've seen him before. He could have been a round or two, but relatively new name, I believe. And then Sawyer Richards and Luke Law at the tail of the field. They have yet to put a time in, and they will not put a time in before qualifying is complete. But nobody could take down Morgan Burkhardt. I said in the opening, Greg, I think you can outdrive the draft here with that last chicane. It gives you an opportunity to split away, and it really breaks up the straight sections. The only other real opportunities you have the draft are leaving turn 8 and getting to turn, I guess it would be that left-hander into the final infield section, and you're not even really getting to full velocity there. So your drafting and passing opportunities go way down with this configuration of the racetrack, and means they're going to have to get a lot more creative to make up time and make up spots tonight.
Absolutely, and also turn 2 and turn 11 are a lot tighter at first than you might think, and 11 comes up at you in a huge hurry. Turn 2 here, you can see it's a serious corner, and you're coming into it at some serious pace. And as the clock runs out here, unfortunately for Jordan, not able to get around and complete another lap, so he'll be stuck in 7th. It's Burkhardt, Soto, Hibbett, Raceputo, Piatek, Rowan Gill. You called it. Great qualifying run after only running once with us earlier this season, I think. Up into 6th, Kyle.
Yeah, we'll go through the rest of the starting lineup here in just a moment's time. Of course, we've got 2 20-minute races tonight. You already put the points up on the table for us a little earlier, but I think especially with only 3 rounds to go, that is top of mind for some of those at the pointy end of the field in the points picture. This race, Road Atlanta next week. and then it's VIR that will finish off our season. So we're getting down to the nitty-gritty, so it's about time to get focused if you haven't been already. Another look at the weather here before we get rolling. 108 degrees on the racetrack, 78 in the air. Nice air temp. Track temp is a bit on the toasty side, Greg. As let's go through our starting lineup. We'll kick things off with Morgan Burkhardt and Joshua Soto in that front row.
And taking a look in row 2, starting third, the 132 of Camden Hibbett. He'll be joined by points leader Nicholas Rice-Puto in fourth in the 03.
And row number 3, it's going to be Olivier Piatek in the 62. Rowan Gill starts 6th in the number 174.
Starting 7th will be the 108 points. Second in the points, Jordan Rixagrini, alongside Skip Rock Jr. in the number 32.
And Jorge Ortiz starts 9th in the 311, and Ethan Lemp starts 10th in the 159. Good qualifying effort for the 159 car.
Starting 11th, the 195 of Nathan Nicholson alongside Cam Eben in the number 155 and 12th.
13th place is James Newell's number 123. Deacon Greenfield, Helmut Null, starts 14th in the 20 car.
Starting 15th to 53 of Trace Hance, and the 998 of Caleb Patry starts in the 16th spot.
17th place is Hayden Manis in the 65, and Dean Dibdahl rolls off 18th in the number 99.
Starting 19th, the 133 of Michael Lauren, and the number 72 of Jordan Butler will start 20th.
And Cord Schmidt starts in 21st in the 172 car. Richard Sawicki, 22nd in the 528.
Starting 23rd, the 91 of Andrew Gilliland, and starting 24th, the number 1, Jose de las Casas.
25th place is Rich Green in the 22 car. Seth Spolman starts 26th in the 042.
Starting in the 27th spot, the 89 of Jim Friedhofer, and starting in the 28th spot, the 931 of Adrian Hance.
And Wayne Buttermore starts in 29th in the number 73. Luke Law and Sawyer Richards wrap up the rest of the field here, Greg, as the pace lap begins, and we make our way around this speedway to turn them loose for 2 races, each about 12 laps in length.
Yeah, and this place always puts up some great racing, and one of the reasons is because we have a great title sponsor, Full Send Sims. Practice makes podium. Cord Schmidt takes his military sim training and his real-world racing and combines it to make the best sims you can imagine. And they have proven that practice makes podium time and time again. We also have tremendous support from Frank Rodriguez and his 3P Logistics Group. They've been with us since the very beginning, as has Rob Greenwood and Final Turn Motorsports, 2 absolutely top-tier Spec Miata prep shops. They do it all, trackside support in every conceivable way. Also, along the way, we have been very fortunate to pick up Wine Country Motorsports as well, the largest combined inventory of premium race gear brands in the country. So we want to remind you, if you'd like to sponsor us, all you have to do is reach out at fullsendsims.com, and Cord Schmidt will work with you and put together a nice package. And remember, we've got one-on-one instruction sessions are available in the Full Send Sims Racing Schools. Just had one last Thursday night right here at Homestead using this layout, and obviously, anybody that was struggling a little bit had the opportunity to gain just a little bit here. And Camden Hibbett, speaking of gaining, we talked about it. He's a guy that this has sort of been a breakout year for him in this championship.
He really has been impressive, and he's going to start right behind his teammate, Morgan Burkhardt, on that front row, and he's probably the one to beat. But Morgan and Camden, while they are teammates now, they have raced each other perhaps harder the last few weeks than I've ever seen them race before, and it seems quite cordial over there for the time being, Greg, but I know that Camden really wants to break through and start putting Burkhardt in the rear view, so this race could be a critical one for the teammates doing battle here at PRG.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They have worked really well together, and then with a few laps to go, the gloves come off, and it's been a little bit more aggressive than even I would have thought. So we'll see how that plays out here, but let's see what happens. You can see Camden swinging out nice and wide, making sure everybody has some room. Pace car is in, and we are heading to the start of our first of 2 20-minute races. Green flag is in the air. Wait for it. We're green, and Hibbert, well, let's see. Morgan actually gets a pretty decent start. Hibbert staying with him along the outside. Look at, again, Olivier Piatek. He has been the guy with absolutely fabulous starts, and Skip Rock got turned, shot between, I don't know how, a handful more cars weren't gathered up in that. Some great evasive driving, but again, turns 1 and 2, they bite.
Yeah, Jorge Ortiz also taken out in that. Sawyer Richards out as well. Caleb Patry tangled up in it. His season just continues to get worse and worse and worse. Tangled up in his messes, and others, unfortunately, looks like tonight. A frantic start as it always is, but Burkhardt, Piatek up to second. Rowan Gill to third. Joshua Soto drops to 5th place, and He's got, or actually up to 5th place, Camden Hibbett rather to 6th, and Jordan Rick-Segrini in 7th, right where he qualified.
Yeah, he's done a nice job of just sort of holding station, you know, and the first thing when you start in that outside of those couple of front rows is don't lose ground if at all possible here. And we're riding on board with him, and looks like he might get a little help here, because if you watch there, the 132, when he makes that turn in, you can see, well, he was pinched a little bit on the entry, and that's going to hurt his exit at this stage. So Hibbett might be struggling a little bit with straight line here. Let's see if Rick Segrini can do anything with it.
Yeah, I think the 77 got a pretty good launch on the outside because he just carried a bit more speed, given that he didn't have to tighten up the line so much through the hairpin. They're going to go side by side through this fast section of the racetrack, and then as the track tightens up, it gets harder and harder to do door-to-door through here. They're going to shuffle on. I heard someone's motor expire in the background. It's a common place to lose an engine, and it's Hayden Manis who's blown an engine on the downshift, and he will roll to a stop. Race 1 is over for him. Burkhardt completes the first lap, and someone just brushed the wall behind Rick Segrini. That would have been Nathan Nicholson.
Yeah, he's pushing hard too. Remember, I think he qualified 10th, so he's up a couple of spots and wants to continue a good charge here. And a late move here by Cam Evan, way down to the inside. Looks like he may have made that work. There's a look at Court Schmidt, and right now he's up 2 spots from where he started, so good opening lap for him as he is working his way around right now the 133 of Michael Lauren.
And then back to Cam Evan, as you pointed out, he's got Trace Hance alongside him, and it looks like James Newell in the 123. That's the Barbie car, throwing me off. I thought it was Jose de las Casas in the 1, but he's a bit deeper in the field. Lots of shifting and shuffling here. Here's Dean Dibdahl in the 99. Little contact there to the rear of Evans' car.
Yeah, you can see when he hit him how it unloaded that right rear corner, and he did a great job of being able to hang on to it, not snap around. But of course, that's going to really blunt your momentum, and Deacon Greenfield's getting a nice run on him coming up the inside. Is he going to be able to make that stick? Evan defending as well, and Greenfield able to turn in, but was not able to make that double pass.
Well, one thing that's nice about the Miatas here, the way that they're set up, is when you leave some of these hairpins, you can just put your boot right to the floor. You don't have to worry much about spinning the rear tires. In a higher powered car, accelerating off of the corner might be a bit more grip limited. Here, just plant your foot and unwind that wheel. Here's Hance on the outside of Cam Evan. This is very tight here. Evans going to be really shallow. That's not going to work. Contact.
Yeah, he got in too hot, and as you said, because he shallowed that entry up. And now, unfortunately for Trace, I think it was Dibdahl who just really didn't have anywhere to go and just grazed his back bumper, and Hance is spun to the back of the field. And is that Andrew Gilliland who had a little problem and is just trying now to get into pit lane?
I'm trying to figure out what happened to him.
Yeah.
Oh, there was a crash ahead of him, and 4 wide. That didn't work and sent him around for a spin. Wasn't his fault at all. Just got caught up. And
he was lucky not to catch that leading edge of that pit in. So fortunate for him at this day, even though he was obviously wouldn't want to be in that position of being knocked sideways. And Rice Puto has snuck through while we were watching all of the other action and taken second away from Piatek.
Yeah, but Morgan Burkhardt's got a half-second lead, and again, I think he can outdrive this draft tonight. So Rice Puto's got to work really hard to close up on this 40 to keep him from just lighting the afterburners and getting out of Dodge. Piatek still in 3rd, then Rowan Gill, Cam Hibbett, Josh Soto, Rick Segrini, Nicholson, Newell, and Evan, the rest of your top 10. Looks like Greenfield still alongside Dibdahl back here. Blue versus white. Dibdahl is in the white car, Greenfield in the blue car.
I think they've been battling since the very first lap here. It's been spectacular. And here you can see he gets that turn in, but now he floats out wide, and Dibdahl able to turn down underneath him. And that's where, at that turn 8, like I said, it's sort of double jeopardy because it's a great passing zone, so it's easy to overrun it trying to get a pass done. But it's so crucial to get your speed to be able to do something maybe down into 12. And he's, as you can see, because Dibdahl because Greenfield made that aggressive move. He just lost everything on the exit here, and Dibdahl's right back and through. Oh, Dibdahl close.
That transition onto the banking is, look, I mean, I feel bad for the virtual spines of these drivers post-race. That is a rough transition. I think normally in the real world you would stay on the apron a little longer, but without any reason to do so in iRacing, you might as well slam back up onto it and keep your foot planted.
Well, you know, Farah has a lot of real-world races at this track, and in that, when they come back up onto the banking, they have a series of cones for that very reason, to limit how hard that bang is when you get up there. And this is a great study here, watching right there Court Schmidt as he is chasing Jordan Butler and Michael Lauren right up in front, and just watching the different approaches to corners. When you go in a little tight, the other guy opens the wheel up trying to get the run, and everybody just is constantly playing chess here, trying to figure out, all right, what's my best move here?
Yeah, a bit of observation going on from the 172, and I always like you know, drivers sitting back behind their opponents for a lap or two to just see what they're doing first, because there's an opportunity for you to learn, especially when they're side by side or over-undering, and especially if you don't have familiarity with the racetrack. Just seeing what the drivers are doing ahead in the heat of battle, you might pick up something that you could use later as Lauren runs wide and Court closes in, not quite enough to make a pass, but certainly close enough to be threatening. And then just behind is Ethan Lamp in that 159. It looks like Butler and Lauren are going to go side by side again down the back straightaway.
Yeah, and I think that's going to benefit Court. He is going with Butler right now. Lauren kind of trapped on the outside, and that's going to give Court position. And you were, oh, I thought for a second Court was going to try and get down on Butler as well, decided the better of it. But Ethan Lamp was a very late entry. I was looking on Discord, and he had requested entry for tonight pretty late, so great to see him here, and struggling a little bit here early going in the race, but has shown us some good speed. Here he comes to the inside of Lauren, trying to get it done into turn one, and oh, this is going to be a drag race. Court Schmidt thinking about it into two as well. Lamp able to make that one stick.
That turn one, so challenging, because as soon as you jump on the brakes, the car just wants to shoot straight. How many times have we seen accidents down in there when you're side by side, someone jumps on the binders a bit too hard? Your tires only have the ability to do all the turning or all the braking at one individual point. As soon as you start adding the other effect in, you're going to lose efficacy in both. So you can't do all your braking and all your turning all at once. You got to split it up or divide the grip evenly. That is a challenging thing to do at max velocity off into turn one. Here's Lamp and Schmidt going at it here for 14th.
Well, and Lamp's going to make this pass stick, but can we go back to those two as they were going into turn two for a quick replay if possible, because that's exactly what I was talking about with his corner. Look where Court is. Now watch when he turns, he never gets it to the apex. He's a good 2-3 feet off the apex into the bowl there, and as a result of that, Ethan Lamp just got a huge run. Watch this. As they come out, Court's a little wide. You want to be mid-track at best. Look how much closer to the line Ethan Lamp is. Court misses that apex, has to wait just a little bit, and then Lamp makes that pass going into turn six. That 2, 3, 4, 5 is just such an important place, and that's where that patience I was talking about comes in. You know, you're chasing somebody or you're trying to stay in front, Kyle, and you think sometimes, I'm going to try and I'm going to hustle a little bit more, and that's going to cause problems. Speaking of problems, Olivier Piatek, what's happened here? He was right up in third.
Oh, well, he just looks like he grinds to a halt here. I wonder if there was a reason for that. Or, oh, he had damage, I think.
Yeah.
But from what?
That car's crabbing terribly.
Let's see if we can find the origin of that. My guess is right here on this, on the left. No. Oh, right there. There's a car stopped.
Oh.
Who was that?
He had nowhere that he could have possibly gone. The other cars just miss it. Yeah, that was tricky.
And the person had tried to reset. You see him disappear right there. That was the 22 of Rich Green. And he had tried to reset, but there's a delay on when your car will actually come up off the track, and that just caught out the 62 of Olivier Piatek. That is unlucky if I've ever seen it.
Oh, horribly unlucky, obviously. And, you know, now that gives Burkhart and Rice-Puto, they've got about a second clear on Hibbett, and he's got another second and a half back to Rick Segrini, and then there's a big gap back to Soto. So this is exactly what you were talking about, Kyle, where you can outdrive the draft here. If you could just really flow speed and understand the patience part of this, that if you're at that limit, charging it a little bit more is going to slow you down. And these two up front, they've got that figured out. Rice-Puto actually made up about a 10th and a half on that lap, so he is not going quietly.
No, he's not, and made up some ground even in the final corner. Being very aggressive. This is a track I mentioned in the start that I thought would suit Nicholas, pretty well, because you can just charge some of these areas and gain time. You might lose some on exit, but that you can counter with a bit of that slipstream. Burkhardt is just really smooth right now. That's going to pay dividends later in this race with this hot track. If you're being abusive to your tires, it's going to cost you, maybe not in the first 10 minutes, but the final 10 you'll start to feel it.
Well, and remember, this track is extremely abusive on tires in general. And then if you start really pounding the tires, as you said, that can really come to haunt you later in these races. Hibbett staying within about a second of these guys and maintaining that margin back to Rick Segrini, who is up into fourth right now. So he needed to do that. And look at this, Rice Budo showing the nose to our leader, Burkhardt. Is he going to be able to make this one work? He is through. And I think Morgan just let him go, realizing that if we go side by side through here, Hibbett is going to join us. And just in that little exchange, Hibbett has made up about 3/10, but Burkhardt looking to the outside here. Is he going to try to get the overlap and pinch Rice Budo a little bit? They are side by side, Kyle.
Yeah, I like that Rice Budo is being aggressive with this and forcing the pass here early. I think in the past we would have seen drivers maybe lay in back and try to slipstream Morgan and wait to make a pass later in the race. But as we've seen so many times at a track like this, you can't really wait around. You don't know when you're going to get the opportunity or know when Morgan will drive away. So take the opportunities when they get there. That was a big climb up the hill there, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, Rice Budo, he didn't square up the previous couple of corners quite right, and it got him offline up through there. And watch when he hits the bump, the car skates right there.
Oh, and actually,
he had to make that big correction.
Watch the right front, right at the crease of the hood and the front bumper, right about here. Bam. That gave him some damage as well.
Yep. That's a huge compression there.
Court Schmidt is out of the race as well. We've had a growing list of those that are out, and my guess is going to be transmission related, but let's see what happens to him. He's on board Court Schmidt. Oh, nope. That was internet related, most likely. Internet or hardware, Greg.
Yeah.
But not a crash, and there he is, stopped. So there's definitely something going on with Court's system at the moment. That's
what a shame. And he had started the season and finished last year quite strongly, so that's going to be frustrating for him. He's just had horrific luck so far this year. But look at this now with Rice Budo up in front. Hibbett is now basically there, and Rick Segrini is not that far back. And you can see Camden chatting away right now as he looks back into his mirror trying to spot. And for Rick Segrini, sure made that yellow car a lot more obvious to see back there at this stage here. But I think Rice Budo recognized if I've got a chance, I've got to get in front of Morgan because of just how good he is here.
Well, that's what I was saying a lap ago. Is we've seen Morgan just drive away from people. So if you don't take the opportunity to pass him and then you make a mistake, you're out of the draft and you've got no shot.
And I'll tell you what, if it follows form here, the next time we get into that turn 12, 13, 14, 15 complex, as Camden Hibbett giving us a wave and a big smile. Let's, if we can, look at that tails away, the difference between Rice Budo's line through there and Morgan Burkhardt's. And you can see that Morgan straightens out that last couple of corners a little bit more. At least he has on these previous 2 laps, so we'll see what happens here. Rick Segrini has actually dropped back again just a little bit. Then behind him, a good battle starting to form up as Josh Soto starting to feel some pressure from Nathan Nicholson.
Yeah, Nicholson was about 0.7 of a second quicker last time by. For the lead, Burkhardt back down the inside, forces his way down, and he's back through the lead. Not quite clear yet, but maybe this is Hibbett's opportunity.
Exiting turn 7, and you're just flat. Once you get out of 6, you're just flat on it here. And you're right, Hibbett, he's got an opportunity. You can see those guys protecting. So Hibbett, he's going to go. We're 3 wide into turn 8. Watch for Hibbett to square down underneath. And that's what Rice Budo was thinking about. And so Hibbett, he got the power down a little bit sooner, and he's up along the inside of Rice Budo. And this is not what Rice Budo wanted. These two are teammates, Burkhardt and Hibbett, and they are now 1-2. And if they can stay there, that's not good news for our point leader.
Hibbett saw daylight and went for it there. There wasn't a lot of space. Rice Budo's going to jam it up the inside. He was not waiting to have another opportunity to slot himself between these two. He has done just that. Right back to second place goes Rice Budo and breaks up the PRG party up at the front.
I think that was a bit of desperation by Rice Pudo, and he executed that beautifully and just forced his way through. Now you see what that does. That gets him wider there. He was able to get back over, but as he gets this move done, so he turns in a little shallower, he exits just a little bit wider, but was able to get back over enough that it didn't hurt him right there. And that's that sequence of corners that Morgan had been straightening out a little bit better. And so we'll see now if Rice Pudo, watching Morgan, is going to be able to figure it out, because Morgan already has a car length.
And he's established about the biggest lead he's had this race, 0.4 of a second.
Yeah.
We'll see if Rice Pudo can keep him in check. Soto and Nicholson are only a 10.5 apart now, so I wonder if these two are going to work together a bit, or if they're going to race each other for P5. I guess jury's out on that for the time being. Cam Eben and Dean Dibdall have run pretty much nose to tail, almost identical lap times the last few laps around. Someone just blew a motor, and I thought I heard that. It was either that or contact. But here's Nicholson, and I can't pull away from this group either.
No, this is too good. But you see that right there, Rice Pudo had to defend a little bit, didn't he? And that's going to slow his exit up, and that is going to give Burkhardt a little bit more room. But this is a great battle, and the Evan and Dibdall battle is absolutely fabulous. And Evan, he's got to be up, I think he started 15th or something, so he's had a really good run here. But look at this, as Hibbett now trying to force it around the outside, Kyle.
Yeah, this is going to hurt them now. They're down 7/10 from Burkhardt. And look at Rick Singrini. He's here already. He was lingering about a 1.5 seconds back. Ooh, clips the tires there a bunch. But as soon as those two engaged battle, big lunge down to the inside by Rice Pudo. That's just to keep the defense on Camden Hibbett, who goes below the white line, now looks back to the right. Game is on up here. And they're throwing punches, 2 laps to go.
Yeah, and I thought Rice Pudo might have even grazed the wall, and that's what steered him down. But look at Hibbett diving down to the inside. He has to hop that curb massively not to get into the back of Rice Pudo, who was having none of it, and just slam that door shut. And now 0.8 of a second for Burkhardt, but this battle for second is epic.
Now, when do you give up on your crusade to the lead? Do you give up now and just race for second, or do you, if you're Camden Hibbett, do you just kind of play ball here for a minute and try to catch that leader again with 1.5 laps left?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I would maybe play ball a little bit, because I see some lap traffic. And if Morgan gets there and stumbles just a little bit, if you're not fighting and you just work to try and get up close, maybe you can do something. But at a certain point, you've got to decide, well, for me now, the win's probably out of the picture unless Morgan makes a rare mistake. And now, second's better than third here. And for Rice Pudo, he's in that championship play, and the guy who's closest to him is 2 cars behind him. So risk versus reward, we talk about that a lot, but when you're leading in the points, that becomes even more of an anchor in a way.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Rice Pudo has yet to get desperate mode as far as the championship is concerned, because he's still leading it, but he has been driving like it tonight. He's been on the wheel, not giving in to Camden, which is pretty spectacular to watch. But they've gained half that ground back to Morgan Burkhardt, but if you do the math, Greg, it's not enough. They'll get there at the checkers. I think they need a bit more time than that. White flag this time through, and Burkhardt's got a half-second lead.
And you can see Rice Pudo now is starting to do the defense. There goes Hibbett up to the outside. And is he going to be able to get alongside? No, he's going to dive to the inside. Late move by Hibbett. Read that beautifully. He's a lot more alongside this time. Rice Pudo slides wide. Rick Segrini going to dive down to the inside. This is it. Our 2 points leaders battling for third right now. And it is Rice Pudo with that inside line, but Rick Segrini has the more open exit, carries more speed. And for Rick Segrini, who led the first few races in terms of the points, then slipped behind Rice Pudo, that is a shot in the arm, Kyle.
Yeah, and that's a shot across the bow for Rice Pudo. That was not the corner that he needed. Not really the sector that he needed, just from second to fourth and then behind his championship rival. And he's got some time to earn back, but it's going to be very, very challenging to make that work.
Yeah, and I think as aggressive as he's been, he may not have much tire left to be able to do the attack. And I think Rick Segrini probably does, because he was just driving really smooth, fast lines because he wasn't racing anybody. Oh, Burkhardt, a little wide there. Rice Pudo off as well. And here we go, up onto the back straight for the final time here in race 1. And Burkhardt right now, about a half second, another 0.3 back to Rick Segrini. Behind Hibbett, and then Rice Pudo about a half-second adrift of Rick Segrini right now.
That was a big mistake by Burkhardt, actually, and if Camden was a little bit closer, I think he'd have a shot. Final corners here, Greg. Let's see if Camden's got a Hail Mary in here.
Well, this is going to be the spot. He's got to just be super aggressive up onto the banking. I don't think he's close enough to be able to get much of a toe unless he gets some help from Rick Segrini. Morgan having some fun as he comes across the line. He'll get the win, and in this series, a fairly dominant one by 38/100ths of a second. That's a pretty big margin. Rice Pudo ends up in fourth. Nicholson gets in front of Soto for fifth. And Dibdahl slides by Eben and picks up the 8th spot.
Oh, nice run there for Dibdahl. Eben up a couple of spots, but still not the force that we would have expected after Watkins Glen. And then the drivers behind that are mostly all separated out. We had a lot of attrition in this race. Started with 31 and are going to end with about 24 on track rolling and a handful, pretty much everyone else, out or many, many laps down. So that's something to learn for race number 2. But Morgan Burkhardt gets another one done, and let's have a look at the race results here, Greg, because we've got time before things will take on over.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see that really big margin there between Burkhardt and Hibbett. Remember now, Hibbett comes into this championship third. Burkhardt comes into this round of the championship, I should say, in fourth. Rick Segrini comes in second, and Rice Pudo was your leader coming in. So he ends up there just sort of flipping that top 4, and then Nathan Nicholson having a really good run. And I got to tell you, I'm heartbroken here for Ethan Lamp. He came out of that last turn up onto the banking, Kyle, in 10th spot, and Butler had just enough of a drive that he snuck by him at the line. So Ethan ends up just outside of the top 10 here, and he drove a really, really stout race.
Yeah, he did, and will just miss the top 10. Looking down the rest of the order, Olivier Piatek was out with that crash damage that he sustained from the lap car of Rich Green having an issue in the final corner. He's going to look for a bit of redemption. It has just also not been his season. Him and Caleb Patry both have had enough bad luck for several seasons, and hopefully they can shake it off and get ready for the next season and just have a better time at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what's also the issue here, with this attrition, this track, you are shifting so frequently here, aren't you? That you're up to the gears, down to the gears, up to the gear. Like at a Road America, you get up into high gear, you're there for a while, and every one of those shifts, if you're using that gated box with the heel and toe, it's an opportunity for an over rev or a wrong gear selection, and so I'm sure that's played into it a little bit too.
So this racetrack is our third to last race of the season, third to last round of the season. We've got Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta up next, and we'll finish out the season at VIR. Both of those racetracks are very drafty in this car, and we're going to see a lot of aggression. So is there anything that in this race that we're going to see that we won't see at Road Atlanta and VIR? Because I don't think those racetracks, you have the ability to outdrive the draft, as we're seeing Morgan try to do tonight. He hasn't quite been successful, but the field is spreading out a lot more than we've seen at the last couple of rounds at the bigger tracks.
And I think that is exactly what you're talking about. This track that we're running on tonight, the draft is, right as you start to get it, the next corner comes up because those straights are so short. I think, VIR is like really two completely different tracks. You got that twisty stuff once you hit the roller coaster all the way around until you come underneath the through the snake, and then it's just high speed stuff. Yes, with Moss hairpin, but still, it's so fast and drafty through there in these cars. Road Atlanta, that's a draft bowl in these things. That's going to be absolutely epic. And, Road Atlanta is one of my absolute favorite tracks. And one of the reasons is, one, with these cars, it's so drafty, but two, huge consequence. You get anything wrong there, you're off, and it's big. And so, that just produces some absolutely fabulous races. But this track, like I said, this is a technical challenge. And if you can drive these technical corners well, then you can usually be really good on the fast stuff as well. Doesn't always work the other way, Kyle.
Certainly doesn't. Nicholas Rice Pudo, the aggression we've seen today, he's up on the wheel. It didn't really work for him at the tail end of this race. He fell back about as far as he had been the whole race on that last lap. He's got the team ganging up on him. What can Rice Pudo do to negate that? Because getting the elbows out isn't solving the PRG is passing in the last lap problem. How wide can you make the car? Do you need a teammate or need some help up front to help you accomplish holding back that PRG team?
Well, I think the thing that's hurting Nicholas, and I was watching in this race, virtually every lap in those tighter corners, particularly out of 12 into 13, 14, and 15, he was turning in earlier, and Morgan is the master. Think about what he does at Lime Rock going into that downhill where he is actually almost off track at the exit of West Bend. I've been watching him, and Morgan opens up his entries so much through these corners. It's like he's got a really good sense of where that center line of the car is and how far he can get up and over that curb before it's a penalty, and he opens up the lines, and by doing that, he stresses the tires a little less, so he's got more to deal with at the end of the race. And Rice Budo's got speed, but he frequently tends to turn in just a little bit sooner, and therefore his arc through the corners tighter.
Here's the start. You see Caleb Patry on the pit lane for this one, but here's the start. We were 4 wide, 5 wide for a moment in the back. Navigating the start of this racetrack has been one of the trouble spots here, Greg. What's the plan or strategy if you're mid-pack here? Do you have to wait for everyone to filter out before you can be aggressive, or do you have to be aggressive to avoid all the carnage ahead of you?
Well, to me, there's no reason between 1 and 2, and if you go back to what happened with Skip and I don't know if it was Lamp or whether it was Jorge, but they're 3 abreast going into 2. No, just don't do that. Watch it here. He tries to squeeze there, and you can see the 3 of them. There were 3 of them. There was no room. They tap, and around they go. And it's like, if that move works by some miracle, okay, you look pretty good, but you've picked up what, from 12th to 10th. It's not like that's going to win for you, but the odds of you getting taken out and taking others out goes way up. Just don't do that. Just on this track, look at the move. If it's a clean move, do it. If it's not, wait. You've got some race time, and if you're that quick, you should be able to get through.
Yeah, we'll see if the high percentage moves are the ones that we wait on this time. Checkered flag here for the warm-up period as we'll transition to race 2, which is our final race. Then another 20 minutes before we wrap up this third to last round of the Full Send Sim Spec Miata season. And I think are we 4 seasons in now or 3, Greg? We've been picking them up and laying them down the last year or so, haven't we?
Well, this would be our 4th season, our first of 2024. So we're calling it season 1 of 2024, but now our 4th season. Previous 3, Morgan Burkhardt winning them all. But, the first one he won in absolute dominant runaway fashion. The second one was much closer. The third one was really tight. And, and now this one. And obviously this has all been impacted by the fact that he had some no-point scores in the first few rounds because of his racing with Victor Gonzalez race team in the Michelin Pilot Challenge and focusing on that. But it's just tighter. It's tighter at this point, Kyle. The top 6 or 7 are still in this, and it's tight. And, there's 20 points for a win, and we've got 6 or 7 races to go, including the one coming up here. So this is by no means done.
It certainly is not, and after every season we've been giving away, courtesy of Court Full Send Sims, giving away plenty of prizing. And this season, Greg, some of the prizes shift a little bit away from traditional sim racing gear and into kind of some of the peripherals, including a 34-inch Samsung widescreen, 49-inch. That's what I've got. That's right. Yeah, the 49-inch monitor. I love the idea of having some of the prizing for the season be peripherals, just because, how many times can you use the same wheelbase over and over? But you certainly could add to your collection, and because the prizing has been effectively reset, you could win again.
Absolutely, and the thing is that if you're a member of the Full Send Sims admin program for this series, or you're an instructor, you're not eligible for the hardware prizes. If you finish first, second, or third, you're going to get your trophy, but then it shifts down. So you've got that 49-inch ultra-wide monitor from Samsung for the highest placed eligible driver, the Butt Kicker Gamer Plus for the second place driver, the Logitech G Pro X gaming headset for the third place one. If that goes to Deacon, I don't know how he gets that inside the helmet too. But we'll work on that. And then, of course, there's the award ceremony, which is broadcast live on YouTube. I'm not sure a lot of other series do that. That will be on the 2nd of April, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And I do want to remind everybody that we do have one more school, and it is on Thursday night, the 7th of March, and the next race on the next Tuesday will be at the same track. That's VIR, so if you're not familiar with that place, you struggle there, that school is a great opportunity for you.
VIR is one of those places, Greg. I didn't understand it till I went, and then I went and I got it. So many people had told me how spectacular that racetrack was, and I finally went last year for the first time, truly understood the value of that racetrack, and then it also really helped me in iRacing, understanding the elevation and the nuance to it that is hard to get in the simulator, at least not when you're in virtual reality. So I'm really excited for that to be the finale. It has become one of my favorite tracks to drive, at least in iRacing. And we've also got, I'm not sure how much we're going to toss this in the mix, but starting next week, after next week's races, so really just for the last round at VIR, we will have the ability for it to rain in the simulator, not in this series in car just yet, but in the future we could have rain racing. So this might be the last season with dry weather as the 100% possibility. So that's exciting.
And you shared some of the images of what the rain racing is going to look like, and just how true to life the spray is and how it comes off the bottom of the cars. They've got it dialed, so it's going to be spectacular. But we've got a 20-minute spectacular second race of the doubleheaders coming up. We're green, and let's see what happens here. Big move there by Cam Evan.
Oh, Rick Segrini.
Rick Segrini, who had just done what he needed to do in race one in terms of the points, is out, or at least way down the order. Hibbett sweeping the outside, trying to get to the front. Dipdahl, Greenfield, and a host of others have been taken out once again here in these first couple, and it's still not done wrecking here.
Oh man, that was not what I was expecting to happen. But I'll be honest, I thought we would clean it up after that. That was a big mess down there, but one of the championship competitors is out. Let's have a look at it here, Greg, and we can tell me what you see. We'll go from there.
All right, well, he's second row inside, looking to get a really good start here, and he's going to start turning in, and he just got tapped. He got tapped, and yeah, I don't know. He did not do anything wrong there. He protected a little bit. He was, of course, thinking about Morgan, and the rule there is if you've got your right side tires to the right of that white line, you're legal. If all four tires are under it, that's a penalty. And so he did everything he could to protect and then got tapped. That's a real shame.
Yeah, he's I don't know that he'll be able to get back on the racetrack. He's in pit lane with pretty severe damage, so that might end his day. Certainly if he got back on the racetrack, he could gain a few spots from some of the others that have wrecked, but it's not going to be a lot. All the while, Camden Hibbett's jumped to the lead over Burkhardt. Then it's Rice Budo, Nicholson, Soto, the rest of the top five. Cam Evans up to sixth, and they're going to slam onto the banking and complete the first lap.
Oh, and have a look at this here is Rice Budo wasting no time. Got a little bit of a run, going to try and get down underneath Morgan. And coming up behind comes Nathan Nicholson. And oddly enough, he's a PRG driver, but he's going with Rice Budo. And they both go through, and look at that savvy right there by Morgan Burkhardt. He said, yeah, this could get sketchy here. He just lifted a little bit. And he said, I'm not going to lose ground to these guys, but look at that exchange. Look what that's done for Camden Hibben. He's almost a second to the good just in that pass by Rice Budo on Morgan Burkhardt.
Yeah, run, right? Because Rice Budo, it might not be a teammate, but he's got a handful of others, Nicholson, Burkhardt in the rear view, that are going to work pretty hard to keep Camden in sight. Now, I don't know if this is accurate, Greg, but I feel like ever since Camden has joined PRG, when he's had a shot at the win, he's lost it to his teammates. So I think he'd really like to break through and get one. And that gap is not quite free of the draft, but it's pretty close if he can nail the next sector or two.
I agree with you, and I think, he has put a really brave face on it. And, he said, it's just good close racing. We're teammates, but, the final laps, that's racing. But I think underneath, he's a little bit tired of being nerfed around. Yes. And I really think that he is going to, one, like you've said, and I love this phrase that you've come up with, outdrive the draft and just try and check out a little bit here. And if he can, if somebody comes up behind him, I think he's going to have elbows out and really trying to get after it. And right there, that's the first time I've seen Rice Budo drive the Burkhardt line through those last couple of corners. And he really attacked that one curve a little bit more, and that straightened him out through the turn 14. That was a nice job. And look at that little gap he got as a result of it.
Yeah, it will go away fairly quickly in the braking zone here, though, as these three tighten back up again. But Hibbett still about 8 tenths ahead. If he can just edge away a bit more, he could be safe for the time being, as it looks like Eben and Gill are going to trade spots. Give Gill the spot on the outside. That's tough to complete, but he will. Eben had to jump on the brakes.
I think he's got a problem.
Oh, he does. What is wrong? Oh, slow down most likely.
Slow down, I bet you.
Yeah, this usually comes in turn 1. So we might have to go back a little further to see, but typically if you cut this, well, it wasn't that one.
Well, let's see, was it 2 here?
It's close. Yeah, because then he goes protective.
Yep.
That was not a big cut, but it cost him, and he's out of the race. He's quit. So, wow, interesting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's a shame.
Yeah. Back to live. And Hibbett.
And that promotes Rowan Gill, by the way, up into 5th.
Yeah, into no man's land, though. No one behind him, no one in front of him to draft off of, so he's kind of stuck where he is for now, as Hibbett has lost a couple of tenths to Rice-Budo and Nicholson, so he's not going to escape this time.
You know what? The number 133 right now, Michael Lauren, he did not qualify well in that first race. It just drove very strongly in it, but look at, he's up into 6th. He's gone around Soto. Lampy is in 8th. Trace Hance has struggled, and Jose de las Casas is up in 10th. A lot of this obviously due to that Grand Carambolage down in turn 1 and 2. But still.
What was that?
Grand Carambolage. That's
I love that.
David, yeah, it's a David Hobbs. It's a French term for massive incident, essentially. And Hobbs fell in love with it when he saw it in the FIA Formula One glossary of terms.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, because it's French-based, and of course, he would always say, "Oh, it's a Grand Carambolage."
That's a great word.
Beautifully.
Yeah, it is fantastic. And here comes Rice-Budo for the lead now on Hibbett, and Nicholson is past Burkhardt, and he might ruffle some feathers up here in the midst of this battle. And we're just 5 minutes in, but already the lead battle begins.
Yeah, Nicholson, he actually got a better run through turn 6. And he comes up, and now here comes Morgan Burkhardt as well. And Rice-Budo, he has got to stay down to the inside here and try and out deep Nicholson. And he's not going to be able to do it, or he does. He got down to the inside. I don't think that was an absolute piece of great driving. Both drivers, their track awareness, they were so close that I was just waiting for the little bit of code. They were that close and never touched. But Rice-Budo, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to hang on here. He's still got position. Oh, looks like he got way underneath that curb. Look at Nicholson working the outside here, Kyle. That's brilliant stuff.
Driving a man possessed right now through the last couple of corners, just so close to Nicholson. And you're right, the pass through turn 8 there, I thought for sure that we would see the tires clip each other and ramp each other and send someone off into the scenery, but somehow they managed to keep it away. And iRacing's netcode has had problems at times, but that was not one of them, and that was exceptional. All the while, Hibbett's loving this because they've cost themselves a couple of tenths of a second. He's still not clear of the draft, but he's doing his hardest to try to keep that gap as large as it can be for as long as it can be.
And what he'd love, obviously, now is for Rice-Budo to start really attacking on Nicholson here and try and slow them both up. I don't know whether that's going to happen. Remember, Nicholson is part of this ever-expanding, it seems, PRG team. But the proverbial blanket covering the top 4 in a battle for the lead right now. But you can see right there, Hibbett just gets he just gets through 6 right now really well. And Burkhardt now up and underneath Rice-Budo. And here we go.
They traded some paint leaving the corner there as well.
Sure looked like it.
Oh, they're going to do it again. Contact.
Rice-Budo, this time he was just going to out deep no matter what happened. And he did that pretty well because he got a fairly decent drive out of there. And Burkhardt didn't really gain any advantage. Then Gill all by himself. And then look at this battle. Soto, Lampy, Lauren, and Hance. And Hance up along the outside of Lauren now.
Yeah, Trace, I don't think had a very good race 1 and ended up 24th, but 24th to 8th in the first 5 laps of this one. That's a heck of a drive so far.
That really is, and that means he did a brilliant job of avoiding all that carnage in the opening lap.
Well, let's watch it from his perspective, I suppose. I think that might be an interesting,
why not? Yeah.
Interesting watch. This is the start of race 2. Big checkups back here as well. He's going to go right to the outside. Green flag, you can race, and he just drove around them. So going back to that question, I mean, Greg, I asked you earlier, is it better to be aggressive or better to be careful? And he did both. But there's still more dramas up ahead here, I think.
He was carefully aggressive. But I think there's that one. Oh, he got hit and straightened out. Wow.
Oh, man, seas parted and through he went. Gosh.
Yeah, he was on his way to being spun around again, and he got straightened out, and obviously didn't hurt the car too much.
No, and I didn't notice this earlier, at least I didn't pick it up, that Piatek was also involved in that one, so that'll just be a total throwaway night for him.
And he had really shown us some form in recent races, hadn't he?
He had, and you know, going back to Sebring, remember his aggression on the start there, and he went around the outside both times and got clipped and sent into the tire bundles before he could even complete half a lap. There's just some nights for him this season have just been so frustrating. But all the while, keep an eye on these front 4, but Rowan Gill has cut down the difference to just over 2 seconds. It was about 2.5 before. So while these front 4 continue to scrap, I don't think I can count Gill out with half the race still left to go.
I don't think so either. And, you know, the closer that we see Nicholson and Burkhardt getting to Hibbett, the more likely they're going to start racing each other. And as you said, Gill still has a shot at maybe at least a podium. So we'll see what's going to happen here. So watching Camden negotiate that very tricky sequence. I'll tell you what, he gets out of there with a little bit straighter line than did Nicholson, and that's going to pay him big dividends getting to the finish line if he's leading at the start of that last lap. But the other place that he just looks really good right now is coming out of turn number 6. That's where he seems to be able to gap people.
Has a half-second advantage now, and just the weight transfer is so seamless there.
Yeah,
from left to right.
Yeah, he's got that really dialed. And I think it looks to me the way that he's doing it is he's loading the tires up beautifully entering 3, and it just keeps them loaded all the way to the exit without any kind of adjustments. And every adjustment you make can actually scrub a little bit of speed, and he's just not making any. And then look at this run here through 6. He's just really good through there right now.
I think the balance in the way that he's tipping through some of the slower corners really tells me that his footwork is perfect, because you know, to keep the load on the tires in some particular corners, you can't just do that with the steering wheel. You have to keep them loaded front to rear properly as well. And it tells me that he's got enough trail brake in it. He's got, you know, knows right when to get back to the throttle, part or all the way, to keep the balance just right on the tires. If you have great lines, actually, I'm going to say it this way. You can't have great lines without having good footwork, because your footwork can ruin any attempt at a good line that you have set up.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. You know, because it's so easy. You just miss that blip a little bit, or in reaching for the blip, your trail braking comes off just a little bit too soon, perhaps, and so then you just miss that apex by. I mean, it's all so connected, and that's part of why we call this a technical track, because we talked about the amount of times you're shifting here, where every time you're shifting, you're trail braking and you're blipping and you're doing all these things, and that ballet has to be executed flawlessly, or you're going to suffer in terms of some sort of speed loss. And he is really doing a nice job, and that's the first time it looked like he overdrove the exit of 3 just a little bit, and it hurt him. You can see he lost maybe a car length there. It's so tough. That's that patience I'm talking about. You've got to be patient through 3 so that you exit mid-track or less, so you could flick into 4 much more efficiently, and it just makes a big difference.
Wanted to point out the edge of the racetrack is where the white line is. Look at what we're doing on entry here, using every inch, driving over onto the rumble strips to arc in a little bit more, because they know how important turn 6 is, Greg. So they are setting up to create the widest possible racetrack, and that includes using the entry curbs where they exist.
Yeah, and by doing that, what do? You make the radius through the corner less acute, less tight, and that means you can roll just that maybe half a tenth more speed through that corner, and that can be a huge difference when we have finished in this series. How many times have we seen it? Thousands of a second. So it's all those little things that can make a big difference here. On a track that's this abrasive on tires, do it uber smoothly.
And one of those corners that is abrasive is that turn down onto the infield section right here before the last few turns. That is such a fast corner. Yes. Really fun to drive, by the way. Especially, I've taken some GTP cars out here, some contemporary GTP IMSA cars, and just with the downforce they've got, it's just a flick, but you still got that rumble to drive over. Just a really fun. This is a fun roval. I like driving this place, and I kind of wish we saw it more in in pro racing or racing where you can kind of watch it because it's a great racetrack. I think it should get used more than it does.
Well, I'll tell you, I had the absolute pleasure back in, I think it was '98, when the FIA's World GT Championship that had those glorious Mercedes CLK LMs, Baron Schneider and Ricardo Zonta and McNish driving that beautiful Porsche GT1. And they came and raced here, and it's a tight infield roval, and they put on a spectacular show.
Burkhardt, I think, actually, sorry, that was Nicholson. Got a bit of contact there from Burkhardt, watching the braking zone. You're riding on board with Nicholson. Or sorry, Hibbett got hit from Nicholson.
Yeah, just got tapped.
Yeah, surged him forward a bit. Well, if he was wondering where the field behind him was, wonder no longer.
Yeah, but you can see that little tap. He almost overran the exit of 6 because he's so fast through there. And he's using the exit curb as much as everybody's using that entry curb and really opening that arc up through there. And that little tap, it just scooted him a little bit. And I think he was looking at that wide-eyed thinking, I'm going to go off here. And he was able to hang on to it. But look at this. We suddenly have a little bit of a break here. And those two up front now have just under a second clear over Burkhardt and Rice Budo. This is interesting.
Yeah, it feels like Burkhardt and Rice Budo's battle got personal the last lap around. That was lots of bobbing and weaving, heading down into the chicane area. And Nicholson keeping proximity to Camden Hibbett. It is lightning out right now, Greg. That is weird. It's February in Chicago, and there was a big lightning bolt right outside.
Wow.
I was told there was a tornado warning tonight because of the rapidly dropping temperatures, so who knows what's going on out there.
Yeah, snow thunder, whatever they call it.
Well, except it's 70 degrees here today.
Well, except for that. But look what's happened here. That little bit of juking and jiving, and by Nicholson, Hibbett put his head down and suddenly has about 7/10 of a second margin here with 3 minutes 40 to go. And right now, Nicholson's attention might just be a little bit more in his rearview mirrors.
I would say that is the case. Maybe it's a teammate that'll help him, and it is in the form of Morgan Burkhardt. But we're going to be 2 laps to go at the stripe, Greg. And Morgan Burkhardt is not waiting. Down to the inside. Big lunge. And, it's going to wad them all up. Here comes Rice Budo banging fenders here, and all losing time to Hibbett now.
Well, and that was it was kind of a great ploy by Morgan. He dove to the inside and then put his car right where he figured Nicholson would counterpunch. But as you said, it just parked everybody, and Rice Budo dove underneath Nicholson, which further convoluted things. And up front now, Hibbett has a 1 1/4 second margin right here. And look at this. Now is Nicholson trying to come up underneath Rice Budo again. Wow, love this camera angle. You can really see the lines and the angles that everybody's driving here. And Nicholson just moving way down to the inside. I'm not sure why you do that. I think you'd want every little bit of draft you could maybe get. Maybe he thought somebody behind him was a little closer here. But I've noticed now that Soto in the battle for the final spot in the top 5 has caught Gill as well. And so that one's on.
And so is this one. Wow, here comes Michael Lauren to the inside. Jordan Butler's got what looks like terminal damage after what I can suspect is wall damage from the last corner. That was just bouncing up the banking probably too aggressively, and will give up a spot.
Yep. But look what Hibbett's got in hand right now. And Rice Budo is sticking. And Nicholson's got a problem.
Yeah, what happened to him?
Well, we saw him drop low, and I was going, why would you do that? I don't know. Did he have some sort of slowdown for something?
Yeah, I don't. This corner, was that even close? I didn't really get a good look at it here. It seems like this slowdown at turn 2 is extremely sensitive, but no, he wasn't even close.
No. If I would have thought if it happened, it would have been in like 12.
And there's the slowing.
Wow.
So maybe it was earlier in the lap. We'll take one more. Oh, it could have been, I guess, one. But then again, he went down to the bottom anyway, so no, it wasn't there. Man, what is...
That's bizarre.
Oh, maybe it's right here, right there.
There it is.
Bam.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
That's way over. So that is a penalty for Nicholson that will keep him out of the hunt for a podium. All the while, Rice-Budo, Burkhardt, they're battling for second. White flag this time, and Hibbett has 9/10 of a second. And his teammate that has basically won every one-on-one brawl with him in the past, about 8/10 back. So he's got some work to do still, but this is looking better and better for Hibbett.
And Rice-Budo, did he just get a slowdown as well? Because he dropped way low and has lost a bunch of time.
Yeah, I wonder if they're just getting overly aggressive in that final sector. Here it is again. Let's have a look. High above. And it just seems to be this right-hander because the curb is pretty narrow. Right there.
Yep, that's it.
So, and this is the, the beauty, or I guess if you're a driver, the frustration of having computer stewards. They never make a mistake.
They never miss it. And look what Burkhardt has done. He has taken a half second off of Hibbett here. And we are heading into turn 8. Boy, I'll tell you, pressure is on young Mr. Camden Hibbett here, as he's got traffic in front and he's got to get 8 right. Ooh, he did it really well, but look at Burkhardt close it up.
He's going to have a shot, I think. Actually, Camden got out of 8 pretty well.
He did. Well, he really opened the entry up. And I think Morgan used a little shorter line, but it was a little tighter line, and I think that scrubbed a little bit of speed. So now Hibbett into turn 10. It's just this little flick. Now into 11. That's the tight, that's a lot quicker than you think. Oh, Morgan coming from way back. He's there. He's going to dive to the inside.
Oh.
Hibbett having none of it. Closes the door. Hibbett keeps the car under control, up onto the banking. It's a drag race now, and Hibbett looks like he's got just enough in hand. You can see the grin. He knows he's got it. Camden Hibbett has got his first win. What a drive by Camden after a number of top 5s, 8 of them to be exact. He has put it together and got himself a win.
Well, that was awesome. He did a great job not succumbing to the pressure here. He didn't leave space for Morgan to go through their side-by-side. Morgan respected that here, but Camden was absolutely firm in that you're not going to stick this car up the inside in the final turn. Watch Morgan. He's going to go to the right here. Camden turns in right here, says, all right, you want to play that game? Let's play it. And he left them the curb to use, but Morgan didn't have the ability to turn after he had already committed. What a battle there.
Right. Well, and the other thing that Camden did beautifully there, if we can go back one more time to that, Kyle, is as he comes through and you see Morgan make that dive move on him down into those last sequences of corners here. Right when, all right, now watch here. Here comes Morgan. Camden sees it, turns in, leaves him a little room, but slows just enough that he gets the rotation he needed through 14. That was really savvy. He gave him the room, but right here he could have easily just kept it pinned and never really got this turn made, right? And he got out of just enough speed that he could make that apex and get a good drive out of the corner. That was one of Camden's best drives, period. Yeah, that was superb.
Well done for Camden Hibbett. He will win race 2 here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. Morgan Burkhardt second, Nicholas Rice-Budo in third. He'll pick up another podium. And the one thing that Rice-Budo is all right with finishing down in third is, the driver he is fighting in the championship had a catastrophic crash right at the drop of the green flag. Jordan Rixer-Green finishes 30th.
Yeah, that's a really good point. But the other side of it is Camden comes in here only 30 points, behind Nicholas Rice-Budo, and he's going to make up a chunk of those points. Same thing for Morgan Burkhardt, comes in 35 behind Rice-Budo. So for Nicholas, the guy that is immediately behind him in the points, he got a little gift there, but these other two are going to close this up and make it even more snug with 2 rounds and 4 races to go. This championship is heating up, Kyle.
It is. Let's have a look at 11th through 20th. Jordan Butler just outside tonight. Adrian Hantz in the 931 in 12th. Wayne Buttermore up to 13th. That's a nice result for him. Court Schmidt rebounding after that opening lap crash to 18th. Jim Friedhofer down in 20th. And here's the last page. And look at all the drivers that were out in the first lap of this one. Jordan Rixer-Green, I have him scored actually as 30th on the other end of the timing there, but showing 24th here. But all in all, that was a disastrous way to start for Piatek and Rick Segrini. They will not earn much of any points tonight, Greg, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a real shame, but on the other side, a huge shout out to Trace Hans with that absolutely mega start, and finds himself with a 7th place. That's been long overdue for him. Michael Lauren, a really solid after a tough qualifying, coming through that first race and then getting up into the top 10. And Jose de las Casas, another top 10 finish for Jose. That's absolutely great. That's his second one now. So Jose's starting to show us some stuff as well. And here's a look at Jordan, and really a shame, knowing that he had a real shot here on snugging those points up a little bit after that first race and then having the problem.
Well, let's talk to him. Jordan Rick Segrini finishes way down the order in race number 2 of the night. Big crash right at the start, defending your spot up there on the second row, Jordan. 3rd place in race 1, but net points lost tonight for you after that crash in race 2. What do you take away from this evening, and how do you keep the championship hopes alive?
To be honest, I think both the drop weeks were used already between Daytona and one other track, so I think the championship points that's no longer just going to be to go for a win at Road Atlanta.
Well, I mean, sometimes that's what it comes down to is, when you're in this situation, in a way that can be a little liberating because it's, you can't play mind games now. You just got to go win. But after that third with, finishing in front of Nicholas, obviously you had to be feeling like, okay, this is what I need to be doing here. But it's been a stunning season for you for sure. I mean, all the wins that you put up, you've got, by my count, a number of wins in this championship already. Just doing a fabulous job this year, Jordan.
Thank you, Greg. I really appreciate it. Definitely been a great season put together so far, and a little bit bittersweet there, but still got one more race left.
Yeah, you do. So, and we know you'll dig deep and get after it. Can't wait to see it, my friend.
Thank you, Greg.
You bet.
Thanks, Jordan. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Kyle.
And Nicholas Rice-Puto was 3rd in race number 2 and finished just off the podium in the first race, Nicholas. Elbows got out in race 2 especially, but there was a lot of aggression by you in the tail end of that first race. You really were trying to make up spots, ended up kind of going from hunter to hunted, and then you snag a podium in race 2. The good news is, looks like Rick Segrini had a tough race too, so you're going to gain some points on him, but Camden and Morgan gained some on you tonight. Thoughts on this evening's races from Homestead?
Oh, it was super tough. I'm really unfortunate with what happened to Jordan. That really stinks. But yeah, it was just elbows out. It's hard to beat those PRG guys when they're all linked up. So.
Well, in that first race, you had an opportunity to get by Morgan, and it was early in the race, and you just jumped on it. Was that your mindset? I got to be in front here. I've got to control this.
Yeah, and I had a good attempt in the second race on Camden, but he did park it pretty beautifully on the exit, and that kind of made me get swallowed by Nathan and Morgan. So, good, fair play to him, but that was fun.
I was gonna say, yeah, he did, make that work beautifully here. The interesting thing for me was it looked like in the first race you were turning into some of the key corners a little bit earlier, and I thought that might have been stretching your tires a little bit. In the second race, it looked like you were opening your entries up a little bit more. Did you make that adjustment?
Yeah, it seemed to burn up the tires pretty bad in race 1. Towards the end, I had nothing left, but yeah, they held up decently fine in the second race. So,
and it was an absolutely great race to watch, and it was a delight to call. And I'll tell you what, my friend, you have put together a fabulous season here, and it's going to be fun to watch in our final 2 rounds.
All right, thanks, Greg.
You got it.
All right, look, moving on now to Morgan Burkhardt, who won race 1, finished 2nd in race 2. Camden got you in the second race, Morgan, but you got him back again in that first race. Good points night again for you, and a new livery as well, so looking sharp up front. Take us through your evening here with a win and a 2nd in the number 40.
Yeah, no, I first of all, big props to Camden. He played that incredibly well in race 2 towards the end there. But going back to race 1, I kind of had a feeling coming in that the draft wasn't going to be super powerful with all of the technicality of the corners in between the long straights. So if you could get the technical corners right and be okay, So I wanted to put myself in the lead and kind of control it from there and see how I could maybe break away or, maybe facilitate some fighting behind and really get that as a stimulant to break away. And that ended up happening a little bit. And I had a buffer towards the end and I could kind of just really save tires and make sure I was focusing on making all my shifts, not blowing up the motor, and just kind of bringing it home towards the end in race 1. But this track is so difficult, especially coming onto the banking out of the chicane. I had a mistake in race 2 that really put me back into 4th, and I kind of had to let both Nick and Nathan go so that I didn't lose too much time and we didn't lose Camden too much. And Camden drove a really, really good race. I knew that he was going to be using up tires pretty good. So once I got around Nathan, I knew that I had to do that with 5 minutes to go if I had any kind of chance to get back to him. So we tried to do that and ended up losing a little bit more time than I would have liked to have. But it's just kind of how racing goes sometimes. And then he put on an absolute blinder in the final couple corners and was able to really stifle me. I really didn't think that I was going to be able to get to him, but he made a mistake going through the final hairpin, and I got close, and I knew I had to do something. I threw it down the inside going into the chicane, maybe try and rattle him, get him to maybe get onto that tire bundle and get loose, but he did a really good job and parked it really good. And big congrats to him for winning.
Yeah, he had a couple I thought really stout moves. One earlier in turn 8 when he was able to park a couple of other guys a little bit. But as always, you were closing on him. And the one thing I noticed it when you made that little mistake and you got down to turn 1. I could see you lift and get out of it and say, "Look, I just got to let those guys go, get back in line." And that paid big dividends because it brought you right back into the fight. And, we were talking earlier in the race about how you and Camden, being teammates, have worked together really well in these previous few races. But then you get to the last couple laps, and you guys are banging on each other harder than non-teammates often times here. And this time it was really, really good, clean racing. And I agree with you. I thought Camden's move in that last turn where you got the nose there, and he just didn't let you have it. And then, to me, the brilliant part was he got it woe down enough to make that final little flick and get up onto the banking without much loss of speed. It was absolutely a treat to watch you guys race.
Yeah, no, he did a really good job. I didn't really see any mistakes from him all night tonight, and he really pulled it out when he needed to, and he got it woe down, like you said. And pretty much flawless effort from him. And over the past couple races, I've done some things I'm not exactly proud of, and tried to square it away with Camden and Oliver and a couple of other people. But this race was pretty good. We had a lot of fun. I don't think I was watching the Zoom camera over here, and I could see Camden's face every time that we would race. It was just beaming ear to ear. So
exactly,
it was really, really good fun.
Yeah, the grin that he was showing is just wonderful, obviously. And I'll tell you what, I love the mix of liveries with the Victor Gonzalez race team livery on the front, obviously, where you're doing your real world racing, and hope that continues to go as well as what you're doing here in the virtual world.
Well, we'll see. We're looking pretty good for Sebring, so I'm not going to call my shots, but I think we got a pretty good chance.
I think you do too, man. And again, you just keep eking toward the closing that points gap up here in this championship. So it's going to be a fun last 2 rounds and 4 races.
Yeah, 35 points coming in, and I think it's under 20 now. So it'll be real interesting for the last 2 races of the season.
Yep, going to be great fun, man. Thanks so much, as always. Love to watch you race.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Morgan. And Camden Hibbett snags a win this time. And man, I know this has been a long time coming, especially switching to that PRG team, Camden. You have put on a show the last couple of weeks in battle with Morgan. But today, you finally break through. You snagged that victory. Started second because you finished second to him in the first race. But in the last race, and coming through that last couple of corners, he opened the door, you slammed it shut and took victory. Take us through your thoughts coming back to the checkers. What does it mean to finally break through on one of those?
Yeah, it was really cool. I knew he was gonna try something because I had burned up my tires pretty bad trying to run away, trying to break free of that draft, and I wasn't quite able to do that. And I knew he was gonna try something because he was closing about a half second. in the infield, and I knew he was gonna have the draft. So I'm like, he's gonna try something. I knew what happened the last 2 weeks, so he's not just gonna sit there. I was expecting something. I didn't know where it was gonna come, and then I just basically made him push me. I didn't really give him a choice there. Kind of parked it right at the apex, and he had nowhere to go. But yeah, awesome racing tonight. Congrats to him on his race 1 win, and yeah, it feels really good to finally get one.
Well, and also with your win and your finish in the first race, with Nicholas Rice-Puto, finishing back in third, you continue to chip away a little bit at that points margin, and I know that's got to be a little bit on your mind. But I wanted to ask you, Kyle and I were sort of debating earlier, that in the last few races you put a brave face on it when you and Morgan and others have had little comings together, and usually you've been on the losing end of that. And, we said, well, he's put a brave face on it. But I think underneath that you were tired of getting nerfed around a little bit. And when you started to make that break, was that sort of you saying, I don't want anybody close. I just want to settle this one on my own here and get this done.
Yeah, in a way, it was definitely in my mind. I'd known what happened the past 2 weeks, and I love racing with Morgan. We're super clean. It's respectful. It's really aggressive, but it's clean and it's really fun. But I knew how the last 2 weeks went. I knew if he got there with much more time than he did, he was going to try something similar. So it definitely crossed my mind of trying to get out and away from him and the rest of the field. I mean, anybody in the top 5 tonight, generally the top 10 on most weeks, can win these races. And it's just such a tight field. It makes some really exciting racing and some really aggressive finishes. But yeah, it definitely was a long time coming. I've one win, I think, in the series last season. Kind of just been, like you said, kind of muscled around this season. And it's aggressive. It's how it's Spec Miata racing,
Right.
And it was getting a little old though. So it's nice. It's nice to come away with one here tonight.
Well, and I'll tell you, to me, the moment that was super impressive was when he made that lunge on the last lap, and you gave him enough room if he was going to try and come up, but you defended vigorously. He checked up, and it would have been so easy for you to have overdriven then that last flick through 14 back up onto the banking and missed it. And you got the car slowed down, rotated just perfectly, and he had no reply. And when we interviewed him, I'm sure you heard it. He said it was 2 races where, from what he could see of what you were doing, it was near flawless. And I think Kyle and I both agree with that assessment. And that grin on your face as you came to the line said it all, man. We're so happy for you. Absolutely phenomenal event tonight.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It was definitely we were me and Morgan and Nathan Nicholson were all on a call together, working together to try and keep Nick off the podium. But it was some fun racing tonight, and it was definitely nice to finally get one this season. And I think I'm still third in points, still got a little work to go, but definitely closed the margin.
Yeah, you're chipping away at it, man, and there's still 4 races to go.
That's true.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Can't wait to see how it plays out.
Well, we finally got him to admit that he was getting tired of it, Greg. I never thought we'd see the day. He was absolutely steadfast in his belief that it was all fair game. But we know, Greg, race car drivers, they want to win, and he had just gotten taken advantage of a couple too many times.
Yeah.
Finally got him to say that. But anyway, we get through another great round here in the Full Send Sim Spec Miata Series, Greg. This was a great race, a great pair of races, and we've got 2 amazing racetracks up next to finish out the season.
Yeah, I mean, we saw here, and I love having a really technical track in the mix, because that's where you can see the drivers who can really have that feel in low-speed corners and be able to build pace and make it work. Then we go to the next 2, like we said, Road Atlanta, and just the high-speed, constant change in direction swoops of that place, and then, of course, VIR to wrap it all up. It is going to be spectacular. This championship is tighter than I can remember it at any point in our first 3 seasons last year. Everything is really coming to a boil, Kyle, and I can't wait for it. And we got to say a huge thanks once again to Full Send Sims and Cord Schmidt, and just absolutely fabulous job envisioning this series and making it what it is. And then, of course, our great supporting sponsors, Final Turn Motorsports, Rob Greenwood, who's been with us right from the off, as has 3P Logistics and Frank Rodriguez. You just can't say enough about them. Wine Country Motorsports on board as well. And a huge thank you to all of them. And with that, folks, we're going to wrap things up here from Homestead-Miami Speedway. Again, next Tuesday night will be round 9, 2 20-minute races at the glorious Road Atlanta. For Finian DeCuna, who handles all of the great camera shots for Kyle Heyer, I'm Greg Bremer. Thank you so much for joining us here. And we'll see you next Tuesday night in Atlanta.